Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads it must converse is the channel. Thanks for coming back by. Last night, a buddy and I watched the new Dune movie. Denis Villeneuve, his adaptation, and I'm here to talk about it. It's about the first half of this book. I had known that going into it and kind of had my ideas for where in the plot, this first movie was going to kind of stop and I got thoughts, let me tell you. When it comes down to it, the movie is epic in scope. It's beautifully done. It's a very, very beautiful movie. It's wonderful to see the visuals that are going on, and it's a very action-packed movie. There's a lot of just fighting and war in this kind of thing. Not, a war between houses. So it is this kind of, and Dune is like this, where it's kind of like this old style mixed with this hyper sci-fi, futuristic, and it's awesome. It was done very well for what it is. My thoughts come in, and my kind of confusion. Let's just kind of just get into it. Where is those characters up on the screen in this movie, in the adaptation, are they the characters that are in the book? Are they the same character? Is the motivations the same? Is their personality the same? Or is their temperaments the same? That kind of thing. That's what, makes or breaks adaptations for me. For example, the Gunslinger adaptation that was done, The Dark Tower, with Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey a few years back. It is a piece of crap. Like, it's a horrible movie. And that Roland in that movie is not Roland in The Dark Tower. Roland would never think the way that the character thinks in the movie. He would never go. His personality is not that. So that's not him. It's a different character, a totally different, and then therefore a totally different story, because his motivations are different. His thinking and what the way he's handling himself is different. So I kind of was thinking like that about the Dune series with Paul and Jessica and these kind of things. Is, are they them? Are they the characters that Frank Herbert envisioned? And I will say, that I don't think so. But a lot better, a lot closer than, uh, the Gunslinger from my previous example. That's for sure. The main thing that comes up when I'm thinking about Dune here, the movie, is how much was not said about this world and about this universe that we live in, the humans live in the Dune series, because there's not any explanation for why there's not any computers. When there's a story there, and it could be said pretty quick and easy. This movie is long, okay? It's 2.5 hours long. And in 2.5 hours, it gives you very, very little information. Maybe having not read it, you feel like you are getting enough information, but you're not, because you don't know who the Bene Gesserits are. You don't know anything about their culture, or that they are a culture, actually, that they have their own planet, that they have their own whole, system going. There's just the smallest of illusions of the Bene Gesserits have their own designs, and just that kind of thing. You don't know what a mentat is. They have a being with it. Thurfer Hiwat is his name, and he is a mentat. And a mentat is a human being, but that has been trained and is evolved in a certain type of way to be a computing machine that can problem solve and compute to a very high level in his head or her head, and they are also their own society, and that every household, every family has a mentat or two that they have in their inner circle that helps them with decision making, helps them with all the variables in a certain problem and finding solutions for it. And that was never, never talked about. He's there and he does what he does, but it never explains what this person is or what this person is doing. Paul, number one. Okay, in the book, I will say that the Dune series is not a character-driven novel. The Dune books are not character-driven. Frank Herbert is a very intellectual writer. He's not a very emotional writer at all, and the characters you can kind of you get a sense of who they are very well. You know who they are, and you kind of you can know all about them or whatever, but you're not like, you don't fall in love with a character in Dune. It's not like that, and I understand them trying to make and needing to make characters more substantial in a movie than it is in this book for the common movie watcher, your popcorn cruncher over there. But when it comes down to it, Paul in the movie is a very confused, or he's not confused, okay? He doesn't know what he wants, just like any adolescent might, a young adult. But in the books, Paul is even more advanced than his mother, Jessica, is in his mind and in his abilities. So the Bene Gesserits, which is what Paul's mother is, Bene Gesserits can control their own bodies to a very high degree, their body temperature, their whether or not they get pregnant, whether or not they get pregnant with a male or a female. They can control different aspects of their bodies in that kind of way, but also their minds. And they have a very, very strong abilities. One is the voice. They can actually speak in a way that is like, Jedi mind trick stuff. And that is shown in the movie. But in the movie, Paul can't do it as well as his mother. When it comes down to it, Paul has been trained in the Bene Gesserit order. Paul has been trained as a mentat. Paul had been trained as a fighter by Duncan, Idaho. Paul had been trained as for leadership by his father, and Paul knows his place and is a very high level human being. He's the highest level human being that has ever been born. He's a Kwisatz Haderach. That's the point. That's the story of Dune. And in this first book, none of that is really realized. Paul does not think quicker than, his mother. Maybe he does in certain scenes, like he does things and he's doing them when she's not doing anything, he's so maybe, but it doesn't drive it home. It doesn't show you in the movie that his mind is working at a higher level than anybody else's, including other evolved human beings, which that's the point. Two, when it comes down to it, Paul is this one, has been taking spice. All of the elites have spice in their food and things like this. It is a common staple for their diet because it gives abilities. It opens up the mind and gives higher level consciousness or intelligence and these kinds of things, but also lengthens life. So spice is not uncommon to Paul's life, but when he gets on Dune, he gets more spice because there's just spice on the ground. There's spice everywhere, right? And when he just breathes it in and he's getting a lot of spice, he has these kind of visions. It doesn't say anything about what the Reverend Mothers really do, what makes them a Reverend Mother, and I mean a Reverend Mother of the Bene Gesserits. Because, see, Jessica is a Reverend Mother. Jessica is one who has her ancestral memory opened up. And it doesn't say anything about any of that in the movie, about ancestral memory being opened up. That makes Jessica basically every female Reverend Mother that has ever been. And these are all very high level beings. And they all are in uh, each Reverend Mother, each one that each Bene Gesserit that can pass this test. And the test is taking a very, very high dose of spice. A dose of spice that will either kill you or break open your DNA memory. And so that's what happens with a Reverend Mother. They either die taking this test, or they break open their ancestral memory and they have all the female um, memories of every Reverend Mother in the Bene Gesserit line. Well, Paul has also been trained by his mother to be a Bene Gesserit, which is against the rules, but he's not a regular human being. So has learned, and in the books, he has learned all the stuff that the Bene Gesserits know. He is a very high level person, and his fate is to go take the water of life, this high level dose of spice. He's he's destined to do that because that is the test that breaks the memory open and breaks the DNA open to understand your past, your ancestral memory. And Paul would have his females and males. So he would be more than even a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother. But also there's a thing where they don't know what a Kwisatz Haderach really is or can do. There's never been one before. So what kind of abilities and things could Paul do if he fully realizes that he's a Kwisatz Haderach? And these kind of things are not talked about at all in this first movie. And this movie was 2.5 hours long. You don't hear anything about these kind of tests, these kind of things, what the spice really does. You don't hardly see any sandworms. You see somebody riding a sandworm one time, just off in the distance, and it's kind of like, wow, what's that? And it's done. It was, I will say that when it comes down to it, I'll continue watching it, that's for sure. I want to see where he goes with it, but I think that the apprehension to going at these big ideas, apprehension to just saying about why humans don't use computers anymore, well, because there was an AI that took over and enslaved humanity for hundreds and hundreds, maybe 1,000 years before. And we almost died, or we almost never got away from it. So now computers are outlawed. That kind of thing is understood in the book and even in the David Lynch movie just by dialogue. It doesn't take a long time to expound on these things. It was a choice. A lot of these things were choices to not throw so much out there, or to maybe overwhelm the watcher with information and stuff, but that is the world that they live in. This is what makes it what it is. There's nothing about the Ixians, the Tlaxu people. They're not even in the movie, and these are the human beings that do embrace technology in a big way and have cloning. They clone beings. They, there's face dancers. There's nothing about the face dancers in this movie. And face dancers are basically a race of beings who can imprint and copy memories and the outer appearance of somebody. It's not perfected. You can tell a face dancer from a non-face dancer if you know it, or if you're looking and really paying attention and how to see it. But there's just so many things about it that are missing, and then the things that are there not explained. That I was just like, Love to hear your thoughts, BookTube. Let me know. Bye bye.